Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Coffee Time with Dane and Wendy. I hope you've got your coffee. Oh, mine's empty. I've been sitting here a while. Or your latte, or your water, or your lemon water, or something along that lines. Look at my bottle's almost empty as well, too. That's what happens when you get up at 4 in the morning. You've got a couple of different, drinks in you by the time the morning is already half done, but that's okay. That's a good thing. I'm not quite sure whether Dana is joining me this morning or not. Might be a solo episode today, but we are wanting to talk to you guys about elimination diets. Today is all this week we've been talking about different types of diets. On Monday we discussed blood typing for your diet, or eating for your blood type. So we were going into the book here by Dr. Peter J. Adamo. Anyways, his book, you know the cover. We've all seen that cover. And looking at the different variations of what is really preferred a diet for different kinds of blood types, something that as nutritionists we kind of look at and kind of take into perspective when we are dealing. I'm just going to check to see if I'm actually on Facebook here. We take that into consideration because there is some validity with regards to it, and it really does become something that it can make or break the difference. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's nothing that is written in stone by any means. Oh, yes, there I am. Okay, great. Because the thing is, with anything that we're doing with regards to eating and diet and lifestyle, it's variable. It's variable on many levels because we are all individuals. And I'm just going to actually follow along with this just so I can watch people's. So give me a second here so I can just watch people if they're talking to me. Sometimes I don't always see the comments. All right. So great. Like I was saying, it's very individualized. Something along these lines is always going to be individualized because you are very specifically different from everybody else. So like I said, on Monday, we were talking about the blood typing diet. So you can go back and watch that episode. That would be great. Then on Tuesday, we talked about paleo diet, which was a little bit of a new one for me. I haven't really dove into it so much. It is coming from the perspective of going back to our ancestral situation where we were hunter-gatherers. So we were eliminating obviously all obviously eating things that we gathered, so nuts and seeds, but and some legumes, but nothing that was farmed, nothing that was harvested by any means. So you're obviously all your meats, but very, very few fruits and vegetables, unless they were just like on the trees. And like, but not stuff that has been grown specifically or farmed. So that was a pretty interesting look at way of eating as well too. And it's funny how when you go through all of the different diets, they all kind of really mimic one another a little bit, and it really, you look at the basis of all of them, and we're seeing a lot of similarities. So a lot of similarities, which is very cool. The one that we looked at yesterday was the ketogenic diet. And this is the one that kind of gets me a little riled up and a little feverish with regards to the way that people use it, because it is technically a fad diet right now. It's a very popular diet, not saying that it doesn't work, but there's very much considerations that have to be understood and have to be put in place before you go into or dive into that kind of diet, because it is essentially a therapeutic diet. It is one that is needed for therapies, to really, for a very short period of time. It's not meant to be done lifelong unless you are really, really vigilant. You're researching, you're doing your homework, and this is like the only thing that's on your mind at all times. And oh, there she is. I'm just reviewing what we were doing throughout the week. So yesterday we were talking about the ketogenic diet. So I was reviewing that a little bit. And then today we're discussing the elimination diet, which is another therapeutic diet.
Right.
I'm not hearing you though. So an elimination diet is something, again, that you will hear from a physician as well too, I'm sure, as your nutritionist and a naturopathic doctor. And essentially an elimination diet, I mean, I can explain it the way that I want to, but an elimination diet really does start to look at food intolerances and sensitivities that are very, very common. And again, I did say that it's a very individualized thing, but the thing is, there's a lot out there right now that is very much affecting the majority of the population. And when we look at food intolerances and sensitivities, they are across the board for many, many of us. And so many of us don't even realize that we have these sensitivities. And we don't realize that we have the intolerances, because we just chalk it up to being, oh, that's normal. Oh, that's normal. So good morning, Dana.
I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
It's trying to remember which microphone I had it on. Yesterday, my headphones. I thought
much technology.
Yeah. Yes, elimination diet is one that I often refer to. I even usually give that out to clients as well. It's a big mess behind me as I'm sorting still.
Yeah, that's all good. Spring cleaning is still spring.
And if I'm frozen off the ledge this morning, so.
Yeah, you're freezing up a little bit there, love. Anyways, so I think Dana, what she was trying to say was the fact that elimination diet is something that we often provide a lot of the clients for a jumping off start, or a place to start with regards to trying to figure out where the issues are, because we look at it from the perspective of looking for that root cause of things. And again, more times than not, it tends to be an intolerance to or a sensitivity to gluten, to dairy, to heavy red meats. And then, when you eliminate sugars is another big one. But when you start to eliminate those and you still have issues, at least we know it's not those. And then you work a little bit deeper and you work a little bit deeper. Is that what you were thinking about saying?
No, but that's okay.
Go ahead. No.
I was just saying it's part of that initial aspect of understanding and being more trusting your gut instinct on things, like building that instinct. So when you're removing things out for that 21 days and then reincorporating the foods back into it to see and watch your reactions, you're following and understanding your sleep patterns, your mood swings, your bowel movements, your general energy, and things like that. And then when you're introducing those foods back in course, as the elimination program talks about, it is, again, understanding how the body reacts to things. And you can go do an allergy test to do all this. But I mean, you're still not understanding your own body's intuitive nature to things, or that gut instinct about things that everyone sort of has fluffed off the sides. So, yeah.
And yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain is someplace else. Yeah, no, it's very, again, it's one of those things that we want to keep an eye on and bring that understanding, because we want to get to that root cause of whatever the issues happen to be at that time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and but it's not all, that's where my brain was going. It's not just about the food though, too. We want to look at it, the lifestyle situations, what's going on in your head at the same time. Because even though you might have gastric issues or gastric discomfort, and then we start eliminating dairy and gluten and all these other things, and you still have it, and it doesn't make any sense. We start to, look at your food patterns, your eating patterns, your thought patterns, what's going on in your environment, all these different things at the same time as well too, because these can have, we talked about that brain gut barrier connection very closely in other instances too, and this could be very much the issue as well too. There's a lot of different layers, and again, that's those layers that we always dive into to really just get to that root cause. But I mean, initially, for somebody that just wants to try something but like this on their own at home, because they've got bloating and gas and issues along that lines, and you're just not ready to go in to see a professional at that point. Constipation, nausea, these are all kind of the generalized symptoms that a lot of people do experience, and they are symptoms of an intolerance or a sensitive gut or a food allergy even at that point too. And when we talk about food allergies, it is, when you go through an elimination diet and you eliminate these things for a while, and then what you do is you start incorporating these things back into your life, and you see if you have a reaction. And then you start to realize what reaction it is that you're having. And if it's a pretty severe reaction and you're noticing right away, then I would definitely go in and, obviously, first of all, remove that product from your diet and go in and get tested to see if it's just an intolerance or just an allergy or like a severe allergy. Because I mean, people that are truly allergic to gluten, this is celiac disease. This is a chronic disease that is a lifelong struggle for a lot of people. I have I think at least one friend that has celiac disease, and I know it's been, a struggle day in and day out for her. Not a lot less now because there's a lot of gluten-free products out there, but she had to learn on her own how to deal with that in her diet through the 70s and the 80s, when a lot of this stuff we didn't know too much about, and it nearly killed her. I mean, that's what an allergy is, something that's going to kill you.
Right.
Happen to take in for sure. And then, of course, you want to be very, very careful with regards to that, because it could trigger an anaphylactic reaction as well too, which is, the complete shutdown of your organs and, breathing pathways and different things like that could kill you within minutes. So you really have to be very, very careful about it. So did you want to add anything to that?
No, I was gonna say, like, the questions might be like, why are you even bothering to do this? And I think it's, there's many reasons. You want to reduce that, of course, or figure out these reactions that you're having. You want to reduce IBS symptoms, because you do not want to have a chronic IBS or something that goes down into Crohn's colitis with that not recognizing the triggers. You definitely want to use it for helping heal that leaky gut syndrome, and using that. Usually a lot of that gluten intolerance is part of that aspect, but honestly, get yourself tested to be sure that it's not a celiac allergy, because that is actually a pretty chronic, debilitating aspect, because gluten's everywhere. It's in your makeup, it's in your shampoos, it's in a lot of things, and you have to be a very diligent detective in understanding where there's gluten hidden. Corn is the same way for people who are trying to figure out why they're not healing, even though they're doing really well. It can be corn. Corn is a big allergy for a lot of people. And again, that can be fillers and things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or even corn syrup, where we don't realize.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. Corn oil, like so much.
So much. Yeah. And it is if you have a reoccurring and ongoing eczema and acne, again, those dairy allergies or those dairy sensitivities can be culprit to that. Now, nuts, tomatoes, milk, eggs, and cereal grains are, stop. Thank you, are part of those huger allergies. And we see those things come up with like this skin irritation or eczema, like, and again, it's if you have removed all those and you still have the eczema, then go do some allergy testing with your doctor. Yeah. But perhaps it's now that sort of leaky gut, and you need to heal that. You need to seal and protect and rebuild the gut lining. It is also useful when you're trying to, repair sort of that ADHD, autism component. And if you need to be following a good elimination or diet, or getting into that and then following that food protocol, or doing that next level food testing, especially if there's autism involved.
Yeah. Yeah, it's essential. I mean, especially for our babies, you want to keep them on a track of healthy eating. Again, I mean, it all comes down to what we put in our bodies, what we fuel ourselves with. And if, I know the kids love hot dogs and red Jell-O, but the thing is, this is not good for them. It is not helping them by any means, and you're not showing them any love by giving in and allowing them to have it, because and nowadays our kids have so many issues, from learning disabilities right up to autism, and then that spectrum is far and wide. And just by giving some really good clean foods, take that extra time and cut up vegetables and show the children how good it is for them. Explain, do the teaching. We have the children at home now. I mean, this is just a small section of time, but mimic that as well too. Show them how you are feeding and nourishing your body as well too. And then, they pick up on that and they follow along suit. You might have a couple of weeks of, temper tantrums and stuff like that, but it's not going to hurt them. It's not going to hurt them by any means. You're just going to stress them out a little bit. They'll have a temper tantrum. They'll calm down. And then when they get hungry enough, they'll eat.
Well, exactly.
And this is, anyways, I'm not an expert in children health by any means. The one thing I do know, and I'm always trying to get a little bit of a plug in, but Juice Plus has chewables that are whole foods specifically for children, and you can actually get them free. There's no added sugars. There's nothing in them. They're genetically free, GMO free, and all these other things, gluten free. And dairy free, and they are an amazing product that actually, like I said, you can get free through Juice Plus. And there's actually a health child study or family health study that they've done for years and years on the on children taking these products, and it's shown that they they have increased water intake, they have increased whole foods intake, they crave vegetables, all these different things. They have better performance at school, they have better energy levels. They're, all these wonderful things that you hope and wish for the kids has been proven through this home study with the Juice Plus chewables. So back to elimination diet. Again, elimination diet, it usually goes through a couple of phases. So depending upon when you're working with your naturopath or your nutritionist or your doctor with regards to this, you're typically going to be eliminating a certain food group, whatever you might think that might be at the time, for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then, allowing the body to detox out of your system, calm things down, hopefully decrease a little bit of inflammation as a result as well too, and then slowly reintroducing it. And then at that point, and only one food at a time, so you can eliminate all these things all at once. And and then you're good to go for a little bit, and allowing that body to come back down to a nice balanced level, and then start reintroducing. And if you start seeing any kind of skin rashes, or your joint pain, or headaches, or difficulty sleeping, or fatigue, or changes in your breathing, or bloating, cramping, or bowel movements, or habits that are a little bit different, these are going to be those signs that you're looking for an intolerance or sensitivity to that specific food. And again, I mean, if you're not able to find those foods, or you're not able to eliminate the symptoms in that 2 to 3 week first initial 2 to 3 weeks, then obviously it's not within that group. And then you have to dig a little bit deeper and go a little bit further and look at maybe it's wheat specifically. Maybe it's any of those nightshade vegetables that we were talking about, like the tomatoes and peppers and different things. Could be specifically just pork. It could be just eggs. It could be just seafood. It could be, or nuts. Nuts is a big one that we all kind of know. But nuts are in a lot of things that we have to be quite aware of. Soy, another one that gets hidden in underneath a lot of things. Citrus fruit is another one. They use a lot of citric acid for preserving things. So if you notice that kind of situation as well too. So there's a lot of different variations of what the elimination diet can be all about.
Right. And that's why it then creates or gives you that opportunity of looking at something that is specifically just for you. It's not, and we talk about that all the time, diets or changing your meal plans, or that healing change that needs to happen. This is a great way to start, and then to move on and be able to identify things better. But, if you've done elimination, you've done this or that, certainly talk with us to do food sensitivity testing,
Yes.
or look at the different, or talk to your doctors, medical doctors, to discuss these as well, so that you can actually even get a pinprick test. But a food sensitivity test is difficult, because you actually have to eat the foods that cause problems. So, I mean, it's a very difficult, big choice. So, this is a great way to start if you don't want to suffer eating gluten, to be tested for gluten. Just eliminate it and look for those things. And again, nightshades are again one of those things that if you're having issues, and the premise of the intolerances is, if you get that inflammation down in the body, if you open up those detoxification pathways that support the liver, support the kidneys, support the function of the body, if you are able to reduce inflammation, the premise of it is that you're reintroducing all those foods.
Yeah.
You're not always not going to have them. And that's what's great about that. But if it's that you keep having it, then you just assume it's an allergy and more of a sensitivity, and get that tested properly, so that you can have these really great open discussions with your practitioners.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's important. I mean, because again, we're that premise that we talk about on a daily basis is reducing that inflammation, even if it's a low grade inflammation. It can, over like decades, really make a big difference in your health, and as a result of a lot of things. And you don't think, well, I've been eating bread all my life, it doesn't bother me. Your body almost gets used to it at that point, and counteracts any kind of issues, but you still have that low grade situation. And I noticed that with dairy and gluten, specifically with myself. I noticed that when I can tolerate gluten. I used to say, my mother and I used to say, we have cast iron stomachs, because we were pretty much can eat anything. I've never really had any major gut issues. Touch wood. But when I know that I eliminate a certain group of, the typical allergens, I feel great. And then I'm like, okay, well, wasn't really specifically trying to eliminate gluten, but I'm trying to get it out of my life. But then if I have a tomato sandwich or something, and I have gluten in my bread, obviously, I notice it, like, and it's not like a bam in your face kind of like reaction. It's kind of like, oh, your gut's not quite well, you feel bloated and heavy, and there is a difference. And this is the really a good part about really understanding that those cues that are coming in to the body, and noticing the differences. It's not a pleasant thing, but monitoring your bowel movements is one of the very first steps. It's supposed to be, you can Google Bristol stools chart, and you can see what is typically what normal is supposed to be, although nobody's really normal. But you want to have a consistency. If there's something really drastically different, like perhaps the color or the odor or the amount or the lack, different things like that. These should be ding 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 kind of signals coming into your head going, oh, there's something up, and start to pay attention to what it is that you're eating. And this is why we are always asking clients to journal. It's just for the simple fact that so we can figure out and go back and reverse engineer the whole process of why you're not feeling that great and why you came to see me in this first time. I know a lot of people are like, oh, frig, I don't want to do this again. That's all I do is journal, journal, journal. Well, maybe you don't want to go see a nutritionist, or maybe you really don't want some help, or really you're not in that space and that time and that moment. You're not ready to make any changes in your life, and that's okay. Everybody's got their own time and season for everything. And but when you come to see Dana and I, or any nutritionist that's worth their weight, is going to ask you to journal or log or do something, and they're going to give you tools, or you're going to use your Fitness Pal or something like that. That's really going to help you look and see what it is that you're eating, and then the reactions you're having. And it doesn't even have to be a physical reaction. It can be an emotional reaction as well too. That is quite prevalent. You all of a sudden you're just cranky. You could feel like you're gonna bite the head off of your kids, or you're just really crying at every little thing that's coming along. These are indicators as well too, to something that's just not quite right. Like if it's not like you to cry at every Tim Hortons commercial that comes on the TV at Christmas time, then there's something off. If you're the person that does that all the time anyways, well, then don't worry about it. Like, that's me. I'm always crying. But again, I notice if it's a lot more the times than other, it's like, oh, am I burnt out? Did I eat something? My adrenals are fatigued. There's always an indicator, and the body's always trying to tell you something through these indicators. So it's really important to be aware of what's going on. Taking a step back and just looking at yourself, and feeling the feels, and even if you don't understand it, write it down someplace so you can go to a professional and discuss it with them, which is very
absolutely. No, it's a great way. I think it's a great way to start. I think it's a great way to really recognize and understand. And if you're new to regulating or removing food, this is a really easy, simple way to sort of get things in check, and then find those red flags in your body. Yeah, because other things can be so restrictive, and yes, it may sound restrictive, like you're eliminating things out, but I believe it's more of it's a better awareness of the food that you can try and eat, and how much food you're supposed to be eating. I think that's a really big misdemeanor or misnomer, misunderstanding of how much food you're actually supposed to be eating. And whether that's eating 2 times a day or 3 times a day, and the amount of calories, or eating when you're hungry is always a great approach too. But it's, when you're looking at your plate, it's looking at it as a 4, 3, 2, 1 approach, right? That the 40% of your food should be vegetables, right? 30% should be sort of that protein source, 20% should be fats, and 10% is that sort of whole carbohydrate sort of source. So I mean, if you and that's bringing you back to a balanced aspect and healthy eating, and it goes right along with that sort of paleo aspect of ensuring, or even clean eating. clean keto or clean whole food. I love the whole food concept because you're still in, or hormone dieting, because you're still incorporating those healthy lentils, those healthy, good carbohydrates, sweet potatoes as well. But we've got to get this mindset change that the majority of our plate has to be vegetables, right?
Yeah.
And it's so difficult. And this is why it's so amazing with the Tower Gardens, is that it everything's right there. And I saw Nadine's post this morning with
Yeah.
all of her beautiful vegetables, greens, I should say. So, and I know it's tough getting into the store, and the greens change quickly and they never last long enough, or it just seems to, as soon as you open the box, it multiplies and triples its size. It's amazing how it does that.
And then it goes
But
slimy.
yes, like adding a gremlin to water, right?
Yeah.
The but it's that understanding of how much good food you're actually supposed to be putting on your plate.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's very imperative to say, even in this day of COVID, and I'll put it out there, you should be taking in fruits and vegetables like there's no tomorrow, because literally this is what's going to ensure that you are strong enough to withstand issues that potentially could be coming your way. I'm not talking masks, I'm not talking vaccines, either or, one way or the other. You want to be able to take responsibility for your own health, take responsibility for what's on your plate, stop making excuses. If you have excuses, throw them at me, because I will counter them all day long. And step up and take responsibility. That's all I can say, is take responsibility for your own health. If you're having issues with your immune health, there's ways around it. There's ways to decrease the inflammation. There's ways to incorporate better health in your body. Just supplementing with vitamin D alone is going to make a big difference for a lot of people. Supplementing, as well as incorporating greens and vegetables and fruits all day long. I don't care if you wear a mask or not. I don't care if you get the vaccine or not. Look after yourself and be proactive for your own health, because nobody else cares, really, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Nobody else cares unless you have somebody actually feeding you. Then you can blame them. There's a small percentage of population out there that obviously are in that group, and I'm not even going to get into that because it's kind of bothering me right now that they've been overlooked. But at the same time, for those that are responsible for putting that food in their mouth, or the drinks in their mouth, or the thoughts in their head, take some friggin' responsibility for your own health, and stop putting the blame on everybody else around you, and do what's good for you. That's all I have to say. We've got the answers for you. Take in as much as you can. What's stopping you? Is price stopping you? I know it's very expensive, but you can start growing stuff at home. That's going to be so much cheaper in the long run, and so much better for you, because it's organic, it's non-GMO, and blah, 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 all these other things. It's clean, it's good, it's fresh. You're getting the best of the best. And I know I deserve it. I know you deserve it, Dana. I know every one of my clients deserves it. And I know everybody out there listening deserves it as well, too. And I really hope that the people that are listening to this realize that they deserve it as well, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect.
So
All right.
important.
Good place to end, I think. Tomorrow,
I
I think we're going to, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I've already posted it, so you can probably go look. But just as a little teaser, tomorrow is, we're going to talk about, or I'm going to talk about, Dana's going to try her best to be on, maybe not, potentially what they tout as being the best diet out there. That's all I'm going to say. So have a wonderful day, everybody, and we will talk soon. Take care.
Be blessed. Be blessed, people. Thank you.